Alrighty, everyone. I'm here with my new friend, Dr. John Jaquish. Is that pronouncing your name right?
Correct.
Awesome. The doctor is an author, an inventor. You've been you've done all sorts of really cool stuff.
Thanks.
And what's most important for me personally is that you've solved some major problems in my life. I'm always about getting fit, but at the same time, I don't have a lot of time, so I need to do something that's been super effective. But for me, for some reason, I seem injury prone, right? And this device that we're going to talk about has really allowed me to get fit in a minimal amount of time during the day, no injuries. For the first time, I'm being consistent because it's so convenient. And for the first time in my life, I'm really doing, deadlifts and squats and really getting into it without worrying, am I going to hurt myself? Or do I need a bro to work out with it in the gym, or just make my whole freaking life complicated,
Right.
So tell us a bit, I've got, basically what we're talking about is we're talking about a device that uses layered latex bands for workout. And how did you come upon this? Because, I often tell people, I say oftentimes huge innovations are first ignored, then they're violently opposed, and then they're accepted as self-evident. And I think this is enough of a duh that in the future, everyone's going to be like, why the hell did we do?
I get a lot of people who argue with me, and there's a level of absolute obviousness.
Yeah.
But I do also get people who look at that and they're like, well, that's clearly superior.
Yeah.
Right. Hey,
people don't like to change, and bros do not like to change how they work out, right?
Right. Well, we call them that because they're clearly not.
Yeah. So what is your background? Where did you start off in terms of fitness? I know you did a decent amount of sports in high school, a little bit in college. What was your experience working out at that time?
Really, most of that was, just from a science learning perspective, I really just wasted my time like everybody else is right now.
Yeah.
What happened was it was 13 years ago. My mother was diagnosed with osteoporosis. I decided I was going to fix that problem, and she didn't want to take any of the medication. So I said, I bet there's a physical medicine way.
Yeah.
Meaning something you do with the body, some type of physical therapy type intervention that'll trigger the bone to grow in density. Because we build bone density when we're children, right? So why can't we do it when we're older? I want to figure out if we can. So what I discovered was a group of people that had superhuman bone density. It's gymnasts.
Yeah.
Gymnasts have superhuman bone density because of the rate at which they hit the ground. They hit the ground with sometimes 10 times their body weight going through their hip.
Interesting.
Right. So no lifter does that. And coincidentally, we found out later on that the minimum dose response, the minimum amount of force you need through the lower extremities is over 4 multiples of body weight.
Got it.
So, right. And so even
trying to get grandma to squat 400 pounds, not happening.
Right. There's a handful of weightlifters in the world, maybe 40 people in the world that can do that.
Yeah.
With weights, but almost everybody can do it with high impact. The problem is, which is how the gymnasts are doing it. The problem is high impact is dangerous. So I created a set of medical devices. They give the benefit of high impact without the risks of high impact. So then put my mother through the protocol. She did fantastic.
Yeah. And so what are we talking about, these medical devices? I mean, what is that that's allowing her to body?
So they're founded OsteoStrong clinics.
Yeah.
And Tony Robbins.
They're all over the world now, aren't they?
Yeah. In fact, in the last 2 years, we've launched in Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, Spain, United Kingdom, Australia, and Greece.
Yeah.
Awesome.
In the United States, of course. I think I'm gonna try and get my parents to go to that, and I think there's one in Phoenix. Yeah. I want my parents healthy, and I do, and I also want the headache of anyone breaking their hip and you know,
Right.
turning everyone's life upside down, you know?
Right. So what we do is we allow these individuals to self-compress bone in these already optimized positions. So you get in the position, you naturally absorb high impact, and then you self-load. Now, there was a level of obviousness with this device also, because there's more than 25,000 peer-reviewed papers that show that high impact or impact level force will influence bone density very positively. And 67% of the cohorts in those studies were over the age of 50. So not only do we know it was effective, in the gymnast studies are in that 25,000.
Yeah.
But we know that it can happen with older adults too. So the average gymnast retires at 19 years of age, and it's because of injuries. That's why that's the average age of retirement. So now we get the benefits without the risks. And so doing the research, in fact, there was a study that was being done in London, at an East London National Health Services, British government sort of hospital facility. And they did the study. And while we were doing the study, I was looking at the data and I compared it to some of the data we see that the American College of Sports Medicine keeps on the loading of the hip. And so I said, wow, like if you look at what we're doing with impact ready range versus the weaker range, and when you lift a
So
weight.
what is an impact ready range? What does that mean?
So how you would absorb impact if you were to like jump, land, trip, fall.
Okay, got it.
So there's specific biomechanics. I won't go into it. It's a lot easier to just like read my book or whatever. It's kind of a complicated discussion.
Take your word for it.
Right. Yeah. And most people ask the question and they're like, they're really sorry they asked because I sit them down for 20 minutes.
Got it.
So ultimately, impact ready range. So like in the upper extremities, it would be like right here. Yeah. Like back of the hand in line with the clavicle, 120 degree angle between upper and lower arm. My arm would be sort of tilted to the side.
Okay.
That is how I would absorb or produce the greatest amount of force.
Got it. Okay.
So the objective was first, the bone density, but then I looked at the differences in data and I said, wow, when I look at this research data, weightlifting, resistance exercise, which is recommended to just about everybody,
sure, yeah,
is really overloading joints and underloading muscle, because we shouldn't be using the same weight where the joint is exposed to risk, let's say back here in the upper extremities, versus right here. We need a weight that changes as we move into these optimized positions. And not just a little bit. Like some people throw like tiny rubber bands around the bar, and they have weights on it too. So like they're looking at like 1.2x versus, or the X weight here and 1.2x here. No. We need like X weight here and 5x here.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'm gonna build the world's most powerful variable resistance product. So it was the most powerful banding that's ever been made. And because a lot of people see bands and they all look the same.
Now this one will for sure.
Yeah, that's in a chest press or squat formation with the product.
Yeah.
You have the bar right there too?
I do, yes.
Yeah. More important to show the. So yeah, you have the bar, those bands hooked to the bar, and the bands doubled over around your back. That's 300 pounds at extension. And I know, like I say that, and most people are like, well, I'll never use 300 pounds. Yeah, actually, you're 7 times stronger than you think you are.
Yeah.
In the more powerful range of motion. So you will use that 300 pounds. And when you go to fatigue with it, it will be so much more effective than anything else you're doing right now.
Oh, yeah. Like I can feel my whole body, like, after a workout in 10 minutes, like my whole body's humming,
Right. And there's people who are in their 40s and 50s who are putting on 10 pounds of muscle. Like
and the
trainers would tell you, like, after 40 years old, you're going to maintain, or you can get a little bit leaner, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, you've had huge change in your own body composition, haven't you? What was your personal experience after you invented this and actually did it? What happened?
Right. And I've been lifting weights for 20 years. And
Yeah.
I got a little bit out of it, and I was 190 pounds and something like 17% body fat, I think, which is not, I mean, that's not, nobody looked twice at me when I was like, you know, at the beach.
Yeah, well, you look like, wow, you lift, but you're not like, dang, dude, you know. It wasn't there, yeah.
People didn't like say like, oh, so do you work out? I'm like, no, they knew I work out, but it wasn't impressive. And now I get stopped and asked like if I play in the NFL,
yeah,
or if I'm an MMA fighter, or I've even had people say, can I get your autograph? And I'm like, yeah.
You know, the hilarious thing is I'm Instagram. I follow both you and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on Instagram, and for Halloween you dressed up like
yeah, I got a henna. I got all his
I was like
henna.
And here's the thing, how much you work out. The Rock is like a freaking buff dude, but the amount of time the dude spends in the weight room, holy crap. Yeah. I mean, the cost.
Well, and also what risk is
insane.
And what chronic damage is somebody doing? Like when we begin to lift when we're children, when we're, let's say 16 years old, it's usually when guys like say, hey, I want to get stronger, right?
Yeah.
So they go to a gym and they start lifting. And what's going on at first? Like at first the gains come on fast because your tendons and ligaments are more powerful than the musculature that's there because it's still developing. And so as you engage, you grow. I think every 16-year-old kid experienced that, whatever, couple weeks, 6 months where they put on 10 or 15 pounds of muscle. And they are so happy. And they're like, wow, in a couple months, I'm going to be as big as Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Based on the rate that they see they're growing, that makes sense to them. They're not crazy. They see really rapid growth and they're so excited about it. And then all of a sudden the muscle gets strong enough to where the joints are starting to be really stressed when they're in the weak range. So when you're back here, that's some pain that you start to feel. So when you start to sense that, there's a process called neural inhibition, which basically means the musculature starts to shut off because you're sensing pain. It's a safety mechanism of the body. For the same reason you can't squeeze a fist hard enough to break your own finger. Neural inhibition.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, the problem is when you chronically expose joints, as in over and over, multiple sets, day after day, you're still getting minor joint damage. And this accumulates and accumulates and accumulates. And you can train your neurology to ignore neural inhibition. And the opposite side of the coin is called neural potentiation. So you can train the body to fire more musculature even when you're in pain. However, you're not avoiding injury. You're you're sprinting right into injury.
Oh, yeah.
And these are chronic injuries. These are just a little bit of damage, a little bit of damage, a little bit of damage. And then you hear some of these guys who are really strong and they're like, you know, it brings tears to my eyes to get out of a chair. Or I talked to Bill Kazmaier a couple of years ago, and he said, if I see like a really low chair, I'm afraid, like if I sit down, like I'm going to actually have to ask for help out of that chair because it's going to be so much pain. Like he's like, I actually look for like stools and things that I can almost sort of just park my butt on a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've seen the guy get out of the chair and actually tears come to his eyes again.
And for those people who don't know, who is Bill Cat?
He's one of the strongest guys that ever lived.
Yeah.
But he did every kind of strength feat, and he was on TV for years. He was the sort of world's strongest man. You know, they throw kegs, pull tractors.
Yeah.
Like 300 pounds and lean kind of guy. You know, like his hands are like the size of a baseball glove.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big.
Well, you know, even in my own life, I've never done anything like that. But I remember just in high school, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to the weight room. Wasn't a big guy. Let's start bench pressing, right? So I'm bench pressing and I have someone who's supposed to spot me, and I needed a spot like at the weak range of motion. Mm-hmm. And that guy grabbed only one side of the bar.
All right.
like, so I'm like, boom, all of a sudden this side, and something went wrong. And like 20 years, I mean, not painful, but for 20 years, like it was
You
still
feel
there.
it. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Those are
Like
chronic
ridiculous.
injuries. They're not going away. Right. So when I looked at the data, I thought, okay, like if I make a really strong variable resistance device, there's going to be better results. And I did. And, I didn't develop it to be convenient, but a couple things became very evident. You only need one set per body part.
Yeah.
The reason is you can fatigue in diminishing range. So like when I start doing a set, I go to fatigue doing reps all the way out. And then when I do it, it's 500 pounds at the top. So I can't get to the 500 pounds because I use the elite band, right?
Yeah.
Then I can't get there. Then my next reps are in the middle until I can't get there anymore. Then finally I am fatiguing the weaker range, but instead of using 500 pounds, I'm using 100.
Yeah. Perfect.
And I feel no discomfort in joints at all.
Well, I've even found, even to the other extreme, that doing this workout, it seems to make my joints, my shoulders especially, better. I feel less lower back pain.
And why do tendons and ligaments grow?
Yeah.
Because the musculature is getting bigger and more powerful. Not because you torture them in their weaker range of motion. Now, frequently I think, not exercise scientists, they know this, but practitioners or trainers often confuse damage with stimulus. And like you still hear from people, oh, you create tears in the muscle, and then when they repair, the muscle gets bigger. No, micro tears are a real thing. They have nothing to do with growth. They're just damage. And you don't need them. In fact, the least damaged muscle grows the fastest.
Interesting.
Right.
I've not been
really stimulating growth. You're creating protein synthesis, which is growth of new myofibrils, not fibers, but myofibrils. And you're increasing the level of sarcoplasm that's held in the muscle, fuel that's there for contraction. Those are the two adaptations.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no repairing the tears thing.
Well, here's a question for you. One of the things I'm trying to be very proactive on at almost 50 is hormones. What, and what is this going to do for my hormones?
Awesome question. You're asking my favorite questions. Clearly, I've been reading everything. So the interesting thing is when you stimulate the body to the highest degree, or let me rephrase. The central nervous system doesn't stand with you in the mirror and hear you say, wow, I can really lose 5 pounds. I mean, the central nervous system can make that happen like that. But it doesn't, because it only responds to one thing: environment. You have to create an environment where to optimize your health, you lose body fat. To optimize your health, you increase muscle mass. To optimize your health, you increase the performance of your heart and your lungs and your vascular system, blood delivery. You have to create these environments. So where is it? What do we need to do for some of these hormonal releases that are associated with rapid lipolysis, fat loss, right? So it turns out stabilization firing has a strong relationship with the upregulation of growth hormone and downregulation of cortisol. Basically, the body thinks it's sprinting.
How do you define the stabilization firing for people who don't know what that means?
Muscles firing to keep you upright and moving.
Right.
As in not conscious. When I do that, I'm contracting my bicep, right? But I'm thinking about it. But if my bicep fires, if somebody pulls on my arm and my bicep has to contract, it's protecting the joint. But that's what's called an afferent activation. That's a spinal reflex. That is the same process of when you lengthen the patellar tendon by hitting it with a mallet. Same thing. The tendon moves, and the central nervous, it's called spinal reflex. It goes to the spine and right back to the muscle, fires the muscle because the body knows, whoa, we didn't make that movement. We got to fire that muscle to protect that joint. Otherwise the joint can get damaged.
Yeah.
So as that happens in rapid succession, you upregulate growth hormone, downregulate cortisol. They tend to be inversely related.
So like for me, when I do the workout protocol, especially I find the overhead press kicks my butt, right. But it's like, I'm like, it's like my whole body's kind of shaking. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So there's a couple things. There's the stabilization firing that upregulates growth hormone. Now, what is most associated with the highest levels of testosterone secretion is heavy. So the heavier the load, the better. And there's a number of studies that honestly, like, I don't know how really great they are. Like, well, I do know how great they are. They're not so great. But like somebody really needs to do a much better one. But it's pretty clear this hasn't really been a big point of excitement with modern medicine, because the idea of putting heavy load on the body has never, up until now, I mean, it is with X3, but it's not with regular weights. You're not going to tell somebody who's in their mid-60s who's testosterone deficient, what you really need to do first is heavy loading of the body, because the chance of injury is so high.
Yeah. Right.
Like the last thing they're going to go do is that. They're probably going to do light, high repetition. Or like, remember, I don't know, 15 years ago when everyone was doing super slow. Super slow lifting also used super low weights, which had super no effect on hormones, which is really how you grow. So it really kind of super did nothing.
So, like I've found when I do this workout, especially if I'm really pushing heavier weights, I find it impacts my mood as well.
Sure, it does. Yeah. The serotonin and
absolutely.
Both testosterone and growth hormone are associated with higher levels of serotonin. So basically with X3, you're using whatever weight here, but then as you move through a range of motion and get to the more powerful range of motion, that you're holding a much higher weight right here than you would right here.
Yeah.
You are right here. So the weight goes up as the deltoid is getting into that more powerful position. So you're allowing your body to load where it's more powerful with a load you could otherwise never get there.
Yeah.
You never, if you try to pick that load up off the floor, you'd never be able to do it. So you're getting the body to put more force through a muscle and trigger higher levels of testosterone, higher levels of growth hormone, and with all less risk of injury. And that's why people grow muscle so aggressively.
So here's a question for you. A lot of my friends are like middle-aged women who have health issues, and you get healthier. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of them will look at you and go, oh my God, I don't want to do that workout. I don't want to get big like that guy. What's the chance of of that happening? Really address that.
Women do not have my bone structure, hormonally, there's a huge difference between men and women.
Yeah.
Women get a reminder of this monthly. Ultimately, and also we're talking about like hormones that assist in lipolysis. Growth hormone, by the way, is not an anabolic hormone. Recently, that's become a point of confusion because I talk about growth hormone a lot, and like growth hormone is associated with fasting, right? So you fast and growth hormone goes up, and so then people are running around saying fasting is anabolic. No, growth hormone is an anti-catabolic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just want to.
And for the novice, we're talking about is like human growth hormone or the human repair hormone or the human youth hormone. It's what we're talking about is
right. Like let's call it that. Yeah. It only grows people when they're like kids. It's got nothing to do with growth in an adult.
Yeah, it's the thing, you fall out of a tree when you're 9 and you recover much faster than when you fall out of a tree when you're 50. Right. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the injectable human growth hormone market in the US is $70 billion a year market.
70, really?
$70 billion a year. And you're talking about $1,500 a month, well, $1,200 to $1,500 a month, doctor visits, injections. You got to keep an eye. It's crazy, but the benefits are significant. And so if you can do things that trigger human growth hormone without spending, $1,500 a month, it's like,
right.
It's a thing, it's huge. So,
well, also keep something in mind. When your body upregulates a hormone, it also upregulates the receptor site.
Yeah. So it puts things in balance, not pushing things with the potential of getting out of balance, right?
The body's always looking for homeostasis, and you can refer to that as balance. But the balance is a new balance. It's a different place.
Yeah.
So you create an extreme environment for the body is going to become a more extreme machine, ready for that more extreme environment, especially when you do it habitually. So, and that's hormones, and the hormones are the controlling mechanisms of a lot of the tissue changes.
Yeah. So basically, in layman terms, when I'm doing this workout, my nervous system and my body says, dude, you need more muscle and more human growth hormone to handle.
You show the central
environment you're in
that there is a deficit of musculature, and it will change. So now on the subject of women, they just don't have the same biochemistry. They don't have the same bone mass. They don't have the same bone structure. They're going to look more feminine. Their glutes, their hamstrings are going to be harder. In fact, one of the biggest changes I hear from women is they grew their hamstrings with the deadlift movement.
Yeah.
So most women don't desperately seek to grow the muscles on the back of their legs, but guess what? When you grow that muscle, it stretches the skin out and your cellulite goes away.
Yeah. Nice.
Most women that have visible puckered skin on the back of their legs, it's not necessarily because you have too much body fat stored there. It's because you have an underdeveloped muscle underneath,
interesting.
which
makes sense though.
Which is contributing to that loose skin. So once you grow that muscle, that goes away.
Yeah. My sister is 60, and finally, I think she texted me today. She's going to get one because I've been hounding her. I'm like, you need to be strong, because she and her husband are incredibly proactive in staying young. He's a cardiac anesthesiologist, works out like a maniac every day. But I'm like, to my sister, I'm like, you need to be strong. If you want to enjoy good health long term, you got to put on some muscle.
Well, also it's just shaping, like really, if you look at like not female bodybuilding has actually disappeared. Like there really isn't a thing anymore. It wasn't very popular, and like they weren't getting sponsorships or anything. So they have like bikini competitors and figure competitors. These women look incredibly feminine.
Yeah.
Also, by encouraging them to be less muscular, it cut a lot of the drugs out of the sport.
Yeah.
So they don't, you don't need to take performance enhancing drugs to look super feminine.
Yeah.
Because you've got everything you need to look super feminine.
What are the common frequently asked questions and misconceptions people have about doing this?
A lot of it is I don't understand why it's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's $530. So it's latex instead of molded rubber. So that's outrageously a lot more expensive, but it's a lot more powerful.
Yeah.
The product's built for power. And you need that power because you are so much stronger in that impact ready range of motion. So like even people ask for like, oh, how about a scaled down version made out of plastic only for $150? Right. And then regular people would buy it and load the heavy bands in it and it'd break and they'd hurt themselves. So yeah, it's a commercial grade. I shouldn't say commercial grade. It's designed for a human to become a high performance human.
Yeah, like and this the base we have right here. This is like serious.
Right.
What they
like,
so that's out of
right. High density polyethylene. And right, you can have hundreds of pounds running underneath that as you're standing on it, and it's not going to fail.
Oh,
And that's what we do. Like ultimately, and also there's so many garbage products in the fitness industry that are home products that are for $35 or whatever. But you have to keep in mind the market for those products, the reason those are created is not for anybody to get fit. It's for the people who want to pretend they're going to get in shape. So they like go get whatever, a perfect push-up or something. And they're like, I work out at home. Okay. They can say that to themselves and they can say that to their friends, but everybody knows they're not going to do anything. Like that's like those products, they're purchased and they sit in the closet for a couple of years and they end up at a garage sale.
Yeah.
Giving away or throwing in the trash. So like associating it with the typical sort of, let's call it fake home fitness products. And they're not necessarily fake. They're just silly. And they're really designed to be like, what can we come up with to sell for $35 so that people can emotionally satisfy themselves that they're doing something for their health.
That brings up an interesting point. I like to, I'm not a guy who can look at all the clinical research and understand it, but what I look at when I'm thinking about buying something, the first thing I want to know is I want to know more about the person selling it, right? And if I'm buying it from a businessman, I know that his priorities are bottom line profitability, right? And marketing. And not that you're not a great businessman, but I would put you more as a science dude first, right? And so when I'm buying it from you, I know that your ego is attached to actual results, not let's make some money.
Interesting.
And that's what I'm looking for.
No one's ever said that to you before. Right. Like my bone density devices, they have been changing the world. We have tens of thousands of people who now have higher bone density and greater levels of functional bone performance as a result of that. And that's tremendous. And I'm far more interested in the data than the business. Yeah. Because the data makes the business work. It's funny. I was talking to somebody at OsteoStrong the other day, and they're going on and on and on about how the brand is great and like, oh, we're going to grow because of this, whatever, because we picked yellow and black or whatever. And I'm like, no. The company's growing because it works. Yeah. If it didn't work, nobody would care. Like literally nobody.
Well, address that really quickly. What percentage are people seeing in increasing bone density with OsteoStrong? And what other options do people have? I mean, if people take medication, what does that do for them in comparison?
You really want me to answer that question?
Yeah, I do. Because it's scary. It should scare people into doing something.
So the pharmaceuticals have a lower effect than what we have seen in research and in practice. So we see people with, anywhere from 4 to 15% increases in a year. Also, remaining the same.
Yeah, that's a huge thing too. Just not losing.
That's a major win.
Yeah.
Because that means you didn't lose, and everybody's going down after the age of 30. So if you just freeze your loss, that's a victory.
Yeah.
Well, of course, everybody would rather gain some bone density. So yeah, like a 5% gain in bone density is tremendous. And so and is associated with a much more reduced rate of fracture. So what we've seen with the users, they have these very, very aggressive bone density changes. Now, not everybody approaches it with the same level of aggressiveness.
Yeah.
So it is a voluntary force you put through the long bones of the body. So like it's voluntary. If you're timid, it's going to take a little bit longer or a lot longer to grow bone mass, but eventually you'll get there. So it's very effective, and very, very high satisfaction rate of the users. Most gyms have I think it's a 60-something% attrition rate per year.
Yeah.
I mean, now that they have $9 a month gyms, I think people keep their memberships, but it's not because they go. It's
because they feel bad if they canceled it.
Right. I don't want to pay another initiation fee, so I might as well just keep, I'll go next month.
I will tell you, if I listed off the potential benefits, and there are many that I find with doing this, really for me, the first one is a low activation energy. I can't say I don't have 10 minutes. I can't say I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have 10 minutes. I'm not going to hurt myself.
To wipe you out. That, by the way,
that's it.
That wasn't one of my objectives. I was going to do the best thing to trigger muscle growth. That was the objective of this engineering adventure. Yeah. But it just so happened that all you really need is one set per body part. So I've got 2 workouts, workout A, workout B, and you do 4 movements on one day and 4 movements on the other day. And 4 minutes. At maximum, they take 10 minutes. And usually they take 10 minutes if you're more muscular and the muscles in question require a lot of blood. So when I do bicep curls, I'm gasping for air at the end, whereas when most people do bicep curls, biceps are a pretty small muscle.
Yeah.
They don't put that much of a demand.
Well, I can hit 160. I can go from resting to 160 beats per minute heart rate doing one set of squats.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And so then if I push myself, now I've just got my weight workout. I've got my high intensity interval training, boom, 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 boom. And there you go. Two for one, it's awesome. So anyways, well, I appreciate your time. Anything. So if someone wants some information, x3bar.com.
x3bar.com.
Also a great, I think the Facebook group is great because people get a real feel for what it's actually doing for people. And you've got a lot of people in there who's some freaking serious meatheads who are like, yeah, this is the real deal. Right.
It's great that we have ended up with a wide variety of users. So we have postmenopausal females that are totally changing their body. I'm thinking of Joel Waldman's wife.
Yeah, she's had incredible results.
Incredible what's happened with her. She looks like a lifetime athlete.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Like maybe 6 months ago, she did not look like a lifetime. She didn't look like any sort of athlete at all. And so unbelievable what's happened with her. So
for people who don't know Joel Waldman, the gym he has at his home is freaking nuts. And what does he use? He uses the X3.
Right. He's pretty much has a full commercial gym at his home.
Yeah, better than commercial almost. I mean,
he had a number of different gyms he owned, and I think his favorite equipment, he just got it all for his house. And he uses the X3, which he can fold up and put into a large backpack.
Exactly. So, well, awesome. I appreciate your time. I appreciate what this has done for me, and because I'm eager to share it with my friends. I like doing stuff like that. I like sharing stuff that works. And I look forward to, seeing what it will do for me in the next year.
Perfect. Any questions? If your audience has any questions that you can't answer, just tag me and I'll come answer them. Also, anybody on Facebook or Instagram can follow me. It's Dr. John Jaquish, DR John, JOHN, JAQUISH on Facebook, or it's DRJAQUISH on Instagram.
Awesome. All right. I appreciate you. Have an awesome day. Thank you.
All right.